Eyewitness of the Eritrean Revolution's episodes. Today I'm presenting you Martin Zimmerman, is a German freelance journalist and a writer. Martin is a long-time supporter of the EPLF and has tried to present the Eritrean perspective through his work. During the Eritrean Liberation Struggle, Martin had visited the liberated areas of Eritrea and is an eyewitness of the Eritrean Liberation Struggle. Martin Zimmerman is one of the founders of the Eritrean Hilfwerks in Deutschland, EHD, an organization that was set up in 1976 to help Eritreans help themselves. I'm very grateful to have had the opportunity to visit Martin Zimmerman in Germany and thankful for his generous hospitality. I'm greatly indebted to him for allowing me to interview him, since as a journalist, it is him that usually does the interviewing.
Generally with Eritrea, it was 1982, 83, around that. I met some people in Esslingen, refugees from Eritrea, and they are going to support the country via ERA, the Eritrean Relief Association. So they have this ERA group in Esslingen also, and so they asked me, can you support us in dealing with the bureaucracy and so on. So I told him, yes, no problem, and we discussed about Eritrea, where they come from, what's the problem. I have heard before a little bit, but not too much, because the struggle for liberation, at the time it was not very present in the media. So, and I got also politically interested in the case of Eritrea, and after working with ERA for 2 or 3 years, I decided to visit the liberated areas to see by myself what's going on there, where is all the money going, collected by ERA, and yeah, this was the main interest, to see with my own eyes what's going on in Eritrea itself. My original profession is a mechanic. I have run a mechanic and I worked as a mechanic until 95, around this. I started to write and I started to take pictures in the 80s, so it was a kind of hobby to take pictures. And the first trip to Eritrea I have had together with a journalist from the German press agency, DPA, and he taught me about how to write an article, or a different kind of articles, the news, a reportage, or something like that. And it was very interesting, and so I started to write daily what I have seen, and I discussed with him how can we use it for newspaper and so on. So this was, for me, it was the start also to work as a journalist, first on a local level, and after my second visit in the liberated areas, I also wrote for bigger newspapers like Frankfurt, Rundschau, Südwest press in southern part of Germany, and so this was the start of my work as a freelance journalist. There was always a big discussion about that this is not only a struggle for independence, that it is also a struggle for social transformation of the society, for justice, this was very interesting for me because I was born in 1955 and growing up with the war in Vietnam, growing up with protests against colonialism and so on. So I was politicized also at that time, and so this was also a political interest to see what's really going on in these liberated areas in Eritrea. So this was the most driving interest to go to see. It was really very well organized, so I never feel any insecurity or something like that. So there was a structure like a government. There was people dealing with the health cases, people dealing with the education, the printing press for the school books written in the liberated area. So it was very interesting to see the political transformation they did in these liberated areas. And for me it was very much interesting. I took a lot of pictures, I wrote everything down, and I went back home and I told to my wife, look, these are the pictures I took, this I have seen, I have to go there another time to have a look, this is true or not. And so I decided to go again the next time to convince myself that it is true what I've seen, because it was a lot of things I didn't expect to find factories in the underground. I heard about it, but to see it is another thing. I think it was not that much difficult because if you tell people what you have seen with your own eyes, if you show them the pictures, so they believe because you are an eyewitness. And this was completely another time than it is today. We went there with a lot of 2 cameras and a lot of film rolls. We come back, we have to wait 3 or 4 days to get the pictures. So the flow of information was very, very slowly compared to today. And so we have had organized meetings from the ERA in Germany, where I told the people what I have seen. what is the situation on ground and so on. And after my second visit in 1986, I found also some newspapers who were very interested to publish the stories from the visit in these liberated areas. I think it was also a little bit linked to the work of Gordian Dweller, because Gordian Dweller, I think, in Germany he did the greatest job with his film about Eritrea to show the people in Germany in the television what's really going on in this country. I think he was very, very important because he was a person who brought the information directly in the living room from the people in Germany. It was not only a short news in the radio or short news in the television. It was a 30 or 45 minute story, very interesting, documentage. So it was, also he was not only working in Eritrea, he worked all over the world. And so his name is also a weight that it is true what he shows to the people, to the television. I think for me it was not too difficult to send a report and pictures to the newspapers, because they are really, at that time they have been interested in reports from eyewitnesses. So we have had also some discussions here with the Ethiopian embassy staff, because once we produced a report about prisoners of war in Eritrea, and in the Book of Mind there's also an interview with a 15-year-old boy who was captured by the EPLF, so a child soldier forced to fight against the Eritrean army, Eritrean Liberation Army, and so this was it was easy to have this access, and I think there was a turning point in the 80s, reporting about Eritrea. In the mid-80s, I estimate. I've seen thousands of prisoners of war in a camp in Sahel, and all of them were treated very well according to international rules. So they got food. They have had a football team. So some of them they have had a better life than ordinary people in Eritrea, because they got the food every day from the EPLF. And so this was, for me, it was really, how to say, remarkable that they are treated in that way. This is a good question. When I visited Alphabet in, was it 90 or 89 or 90, I visited Alphabet, shortly after the liberation of Alphabet. So it was very near, but in the history of Eritrea, as you know better than me, there were some situations where the freedom or independence was very near. But I was somehow convinced that they can do it, because well-organized discipline, and the Ethiopian soldiers without any moral. So the interviews we did with the Ethiopian soldiers was they didn't know what they are fighting for, and the Eritrean fighters, they really know that they fight for their country. And when we left Eritrea, of course, it was not only to say goodbye, we told our friends, see you in Asmara next time. And this happened 2 years after my last visit, 1991. The first flight to Asmara, it was a flight organized from Eritreans. Started from Milano to Asmara. It was end of August 1991. And so the plane was fully packed with gifts for the relatives. People have been very happy that they can go home, and when the plane touched the ground, it was really an unbelievable atmosphere in this plane. So the ladies cried, the people clapped their hand, and when they left the plane, there was no system like it is today. They went out and they kissed the runway. The people from outside, they come in towards the plane, and they meet each other after 20 or more years. So it was a very emotional scenery on this airport, this arrival with this flight. And the aim of the book was to break down the wall of disinformation about Eritrea, to show a real picture to the people. Mostly it is written, it is an eyewitness report, but I also added some interviews with Isaias Adegoki, with the National Union of Eritrean Women, other persons. So it is a mixture of eyewitness report and historical and political pieces. So this was the result of four visits in the liberated areas of Eritrea, and it was published in 1990, short before the independence. It was sold out immediately, and it was reprinted in 1992 with some pieces about the independence, with some facts and interviews after the liberation. It's a reportage about the life in the liberated areas, about the experience, the history, about the experience we have had. These are pictures from the road down from Nakfa to Alphabet. The liberation of Massawa. In the front line of Globe, I think. And also the interview with 15 years old prisoners of war from Ethiopia. Yes. And of course pictures from the 1st September 1991, after the war was finished. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so the spirit and the steadfastness of the people is still the same, and the values of the struggle is still alive. Of course, now it is 30 years ago. There is a completely new generation now in Eritrea, but these young people I know from the past few years, many of them they have the values of the Eritrean Revolution. I don't know how to say they appreciate it. Of course, there are also people they want to have more freedom of movement or freedom of traveling outside and so on. This is normal. They go to disco for dancing and so on. These are young people, but in general, the general idea to have an independent country, social justice, this is, I think, still with most of the people in Eritrea. My commitment to Eritrea and to the way, because I think it's the Eritrean way is for me politically from the bottom. It is the principle. Let's say for the mining or for the Tanzania project, the principle to keep nearly the majority in the country and to use the money to build up the country, not to go to sell out the country to foreign investors. This is one principle I appreciate very much because it is the only way to come out of poverty. Yeah. And also the role of big NGOs. I think it's not necessary to have big NGOs. You have a lot of well-educated people. They can do the job in the country. If they get the money, if they get the material, they can do it much more better than NGOs with people who don't know the culture and so on. Yeah? And I think it's very good. It's really very good that Eritrea is going forward in every aspect of the economy and health service and education without any influence of NGOs, because NGOs they have always their own policy. And if you have a curriculum in Eritrea for school, let's say, so you have one curriculum, you work with this curriculum, that's okay. If someone wants to support you, he can support you within the guidelines of the policy. And that's what we do. Yeah, between the government, it's. I think it's a pity that Germany didn't go his own way in the relation with Eritrea. You know, the mentality of Eritreans and of Germans is somehow the same. Those are hard-working people and honest people, and so there was a good cooperation in the beginning of the 90s, 91, 92, 93, I think. And it ended up when the influence of the United States of America captured the German foreign policy. I think the best example is how they tried to destroy the Bisha mining. So Germany, they announced to take part in this Bisha mining company, and weeks or months before it came to reality, they withdraw. Because the Americans told them to withdraw from this project, which is a very important project for Eritrea. In the past few years, a lot of money came out of this mining company. It was used for the students. In the colleges, it was used for the health service, and so on. So Germany followed blindly the American policy, and this is I don't agree with that. Yeah, I think everybody who works with a country like Eritrea or other African countries have to respect the sovereignty of this country. The sovereignty, not only the borders, also the sovereignty how this government will build up the society. And so the German government should have a look in that. And they should really observe what's going on in the colleges, for example, and then they will see that they can support a really good program for the future. But the problem is that Germany, as well as other countries, they put political preconditions on the cooperation between the governments. So this is a fact, and to put preconditions is not a way to come together. This is a pity. I don't like that. There should be an open discussion, but not as it happened some months ago, that some parliamentarians in the Bundestag they discussed about Eritrea, and they found out Eritrea is not worth to work together. So, what's that? There was not any decision or not any discussion between Eritrea and Germany who led to this breakdown of the relation. It was simply a parliamentarian committee who decided Eritrea is not worth to work together with Germany. Of course, I think the visit of Mr. Miller, it was a sign to go there and to discuss with Eritrea. But this was in the time when several countries, also the United Nations itself, tried to destroy Eritrea. The sanctions against Eritrea, which was lifted 2018, and. So during that time, the German foreign policy was nearly not existent. The German foreign policy was not existent. They followed only the line of the states and the regime change policy. This is, I think, the main problem they have had. I think that this message is not understood in Germany. They don't see it. I have had some discussions with people from the foreign affairs in Germany, with the social democratic politicians. And sorry, but they don't have any clue about what's going on. When the peace was settled between Eritrea and Ethiopia, so all of these people, they clapped hands and they lauded Abiy, but never mentioned Eritrea and his ass. And also the following times, Eritrea is always put in the role of an outsider. So they don't understand the relation. Yeah. So Abiy is very often in Asmara. I assume he's not there for holiday. So I think he is there to discuss political issues with his partner, with his guys after working with Eritrean politicians. So and this is completely underestimated in Germany. They don't know. No, I think Eritrea is experienced with dealing with diseases like this. I remember the Ebola crisis, and Eritrea acted very soon. Maybe they acted earlier than Germany. When I arrived in airport in Stuttgart in beginning of February, nobody talked about COVID-19, but it was there. And in Eritrea, all the red lights are blinking at that time, beginning of February. Because they got the information, of course, from China and so on. And the strict lockdown they have done in Eritrea, I think it saved Eritrea from a great catastrophe. I think so, because I know the situation, the equipment in Eritrea, the medical equipment, it is basically very good. But if it comes to intensive care and so on, there are only a few hospital beds, as far as I know. So it would be very, very difficult to treat people sick with COVID-19. So the only way is to prevent and to take care that there is no way for the virus to come in. And that's what Eritrea did, and it works. Since today, what I got is that there are some 300 cases, but nobody passed away from this COVID-19. I think it's a very hard time for the Eritrean people now, also, the lockdown. It was also hard for us here in Germany, but in Eritrea it might be much more, especially for people who work as a daily labor, or taxi driver, bus driver, and so on. So I hope that the government will also come out with programs to support these people. Yeah, a lot of people are asking why do you not write a book about the last 20 years? So I'm thinking about it, but I'm not quite sure. From time to time, during the discussion with the Commission of Inquiry, so I prepared a book together with my dear friend Dr. Tony Locher from Switzerland about the Commission of Inquiry, about the lies they spread, about the methodic they have. And so sometimes I do that, but it's not it's not a book. This is a book. It's an eyewitness report. It's for a special time, and that's it. And maybe if I have enough time during my retired period, maybe I will do that. But I'm really not quite sure. Every trip I have done to the field, Gott nochmal, was heißt ein Tagebuch? For example, this is a diary from my first trip in January 86, to end of January 86, and we didn't have a laptop with us, so we write down, and we also put the statistics inside, and so these diaries I have done in every time when I made a trip to the liberated areas, and these diaries is the basic for the book I've done. And in Sudan we need the permission to travel to Kassala or to Port Sudan. They called it alien movement, and I keep this because I think it's very funny, alien movements, and you see this nice young person compared today. Yeah. So this is a souvenir.
Yes.